Ready? Let's take a wee sip of your water.
So I always get a little nervous when we do this. Yeah, let me get a little sippers.
Don't be.
Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. I know, because really it's just you and me sitting in a room.
Yeah, and
eventually
the internet already loves you, so...
Now.
That's
ridiculous.
Yeah.
They love you. I'm just I'm a little buddy here.
No, are you kidding me? Do you know how many... So I put up a poll, right? I put up a poll to find out, like, what they wanted. And it was like, here's a couple of options. And, like, Petco Horror Stories 2, like, smashed really hard in that poll.
Dude, we have to do...
And there's a lot of comments where people were like, really like your cousin, and I really enjoyed this, and just watching you two talk is so fun.
Yeah, because we're genuine. But, yeah, but if they want a Petco Horror Story 2, then we have to come up with a...
Well, it's kind of like just what life is like working retail, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, let's be honest, one of the stories we're going to tell is potentially a massive horror story that could end way bad.
But they don't know that.
They will. Hello everyone, this is Bentley, and I have finally gotten time to sit down with my cousin Henry, and we're going to talk Petco Horror Stories Episode 2, Part 2. It's not so much horror stories this time. One could be really bad. But I'll preface something, and then we'll kind of go into topics, and I'm just going to let Henry talk. So, we are kind of lucky in the Seattle area that most of our Petcos and PetSmarts are actually kind of good. So, it's not going to be like Petco's the worst place ever. This is from the perspective of a former aquatic and reptile specialist who worked at Petco for how many years? You were there like 3 years? Is that right?
3 years as an employee, but I also worked there for 2 summers as a volunteer. So I was there for 5 years.
Right. So, like, I mean, full-time, almost like a full 4 true years, but 5 years of your life you have worked for Petco.
Yeah.
At one time or another. So, that's kind of the intro. So don't expect us to be like bashing on Petco if that's what you're looking for. This is not that video. But I want to start with, like, as a Petco employee, right? You guys have to deal with a lot of not fun stuff that's in retail, even if it's pet related. So, after hours, what did you guys do to make it a little more fun and not just like, let's stock the shelves, isn't this wonderful?
Yeah. Well, let me start off by saying the reason that this video won't be about bashing Petco is because my personal experience with the store that I worked for was magnificent. I mean, we had great people that worked there that taught me to love pets and be genuine to our customers. So it was a great place to work. So even when we did stock at night, which is kind of crappy. You have a lot of stock that comes in, heavy bags, things that you have to put away, inventory. You're tired already. But when the doors would close and we would do that, we would kind of have our own Olympics when we would put stocks away, just to make it kind of fun. So we would do silly things like carrying the dog food from wherever the pallet was to where it needed to be, and we would time each other to see who had the fastest time. Things like that. And even the fun things that we did there was when we would get the dog treats in. Now, at Petco, they have the little aisle of cookies where you can kind of go in there and pick little treats for your dogs.
It's almost creepy how much those look like actual cookies at times.
Yes. And from our experience, they actually taste like real cookies because we did not want to put a product on the floor for animals that people would get snacks for all the time without us trying it first and making sure that it was safe for one and it wasn't absolutely terrible. And they were actually delicious. They tasted like real cookies.
So you can say from pure experience that if a human, say like a small child who doesn't know better, accidentally ate some of those things, 9 times out of 10 at least, no one's getting sick.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that I wouldn't recommend going out and buying a bag of these and enjoying them like we would a package of Oreos. But if a small kid came through and picked up a cookie, and ate it, and the parents would freak out a little bit, we would let them know that it's completely okay because we tried it before. And another great thing when we were doing stock is the people that worked for that store in particular in Kirkland. We had such a great time with our animals, and we wanted to keep them as social as we possibly could. So even things with like the ferrets, for example, the ferrets had a big enclosure. They were one of the animals that we really enjoyed bringing out and letting children hold and play with because they're friendly once they're handled a lot. And so even at night when we're putting stock away, we would let some of the ferrets out and let them roam free in the store.
I'm going to pause for a cat. We've talked about, like, some kind of fun stuff. I know, in particular, just because I lived really close, right? You guys spent a lot of time making sure that your animals were pretty social. Do you want to talk about that for a sec? Because I know there's a great story with one of these.
Yeah. We always let the children that would come in, and even adults, enjoy spending time with the animals. And some of the animals we'd let them hold, and one of them happened to be the ferrets. The ferrets was a big attraction for people. They were very curious about the animal, and rightfully so, because they're very cute. But we would always constantly hold them. Even if we didn't have customers in the store, we'd bring them out, try to socialize them. And when we would put stock away at night, we would let some of the ferrets out, making sure the doors were secure. And they would run through the aisleways while we're putting things away. Sometimes you'd turn around a corner or in an alleyway just to check, or in an aisle, just to check what they're doing. And they would be pulling toys off the shelves, staring at you, running away as fast as they could with the toy. So it was a great time to kind of just let them be free and keep an eye on them. And we put stock away and hold them and play with them and really get them used to people.
So I know the answer to this, but I have to ask for the purposes of you two. Did you ever have like the heart attack moment with one of the ferrets out while you guys were doing some work?
Yeah, there was definitely some scary times. Nothing too crazy, but we had one ferret in particular that was solid white and albino, I guess you would say. And she loved being out with everybody, but she would kind of be the one that gets into more trouble than the others. And there was a time where she had gone over to the small animal exhibit close to where hers was, and she was attempting to try to get into the small mouse feeder mice container that we had for the mice, and we had to promptly stop her because what people don't know is ferrets kind of eat pellets and different foods when they're with us. Maybe they'll eat some small vegetables if you're feeding it to them, but they don't understand that a ferret is also somewhat of a predator scavenger. So if they see things like mice, they have been known to attack them and cause injury. So we were scared that night because she was going over there and could have put us in a lot of jeopardy just being over there. But luckily we were able to keep her safe.
Yeah, it's kind of fortunate that you had somebody really alert and realize that fast.
Yes.
And I've owned ferrets, which you of course know, but you two might not. And I think they're neat pets. They require a lot of maintenance.
A lot of maintenance. A lot of attention.
Yeah, a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. They're very mischievous. They're very social. But at the same time, like they have very sharp teeth. They're related to weasels and badgers and wolverines and mongoose. So kind of lucky you caught it in time because that could have been real bad real fast.
Yeah, it could have gotten really bad. And with her white fur, being albino, and the mess she could have caused, it could have been, quite the story to try to explain.
It's a special red ferret.
Yeah, one of a kind.
Color changes after enough baths. So that's as close I think we're going to get to like a horror story. We're thankfully not an actual horror story.
No.
I think, in Kirkland, we never really dealt with anything illegal coming into the store. In the previous episode, which we'll have the card up here, you guys can watch it, but we talked about the crazy PETA lady. We talked about a gal bringing a not pet snake into the store.
Yes.
And then, of course, the horror that is being the aquatic expert in a store that has saltwater fish when Finding Nemo released.
Oh, brutal. Brutal.
So definitely watch the previous episode if you haven't. I'll have it linked up in the card. It's a lot of fun. But I kind of want to go into... because I feel like Petco gets a really bad rap. And I know that, like, some of the corporate level can suck at times because it's decisions about making money, not necessarily about what is best for the pet at times. Not all stores are like that. But the people inside the stores, for the most part, at least in my experience, are people who really care about animals and are there not because, like, it's a job, but because they love pets.
Yeah.
And you were telling me this story I think last week before we finally knew we could actually sit down and film. We've been working on this for, 2 months?
Oh, forever.
To try and schedule. Yeah. And I don't know if you can see it, but, like, his eyes are red. It's late at night. We're shooting at, like, almost midnight. I mean,
and we have work tomorrow. It's
and we both have work early in the morning. Like, you leave at, like, what, 6 a.m.?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not getting much sleep tonight. But you mentioned a previous manager you worked with, and we'll leave it a little anonymous, but I'd really like you to talk about that.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you brought that up because I've had an opportunity to work a lot of retail and customer service jobs in my life, and I've reached a point in my life where I actually do work and I am a part of corporate. And I get to see both sides. And if there's one thing that I could say to the higher ups and corporate of any type of business that's owned, it's to pay attention to the employees that help build that system. And the story that you're referring to happened to be when I worked at Petco in Yakima. I wasn't an employee, I was actually a volunteer at the time. And I was a troubled teen, and I think that for the first time in my life, this job that I had kind of gave me pride in being who I was and loving animals and learning to respect them and how to take care of them properly. And it came from this one manager that I had then. She was an amazing person. Everything that she talked about with animals, it lit up her eyes. You could tell she was absolutely passionate about this. And even with customers. I mean, if customers came in, especially the ones that had tons of questions, wanted to really know what the pet was that they were buying or thinking about purchasing, she was the first one to explain to them and really help them in their journey to own this pet. And not only own this pet, but take it home and care for it for many years to come, as opposed to just selling a product to another person and if the animal dies, it dies. So she taught me a lot when I worked there with her at the first store we were there. And many years go by. I start working for another Petco when I moved over to the west side. Many more years go by. I haven't worked for Petco, and I still live in certain areas of the stores that I worked at. And I ran into this person. And I don't think she recognized me because I have this big grayish, beautiful beard that's coming in now from all the stress and yeah.
My mountain man cousin.
Yes. Pulled me out of the bush to be here tonight. I ran into this manager that I had, and I've seen her a few times throughout my life, and it was always at Petco. And I thought, oh wow, she's still here, fantastic. And I ran into her a couple of months ago. She was at a store. And this time I decided to bring it up to her and ask her if she remembered who I was. And she said that she thought I looked familiar. And I explained to her that when I worked for her, I was still in high school, very young, no facial hair. So I probably looked a lot different. But I told her that I remembered her because of how passionate she was for animals. And that I was so excited to see that she was still here. And she was ecstatic to see me, but at the same time, she was kind of shot down because she explained to me that she had been there for 22 years, which is an amazing accomplishment. I mean, she's dedicated her whole life to this. And that day was a few days past her anniversary, but on her anniversary day, she said that nobody ever brought it up to her. None of her coworkers or anything. But the fact that I remembered her and I brought that story to her really lit up her day and made everything that she was stressed about go away. And she explained that to me, and it was really great to see her there. Not because I thought that she was somebody who couldn't do anything else in the world, but because she was truly at this job because she loves what she does. She loves it. And the companies that are truly successful are built on people's backs like hers, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool to know that she's worked in one place for 22 years and yet still has that passion.
Oh, yeah.
For pets and educating people. Because, I mean, we who like to think of ourselves in the aquarium hobby as fairly knowledgeable will look at like the average person who's just getting in and doing their first tank and know, like, I know every mistake you're about to make. I know every heartache you're about to feel.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do my best to steer you away from it. And I think sometimes, like, those of us who have, like, good stores to go to, we can get really jaded about, like, Petcos and PetSmarts. Walmart has a horrible reputation. We'll leave them out of this. They don't count. But, the big box stores kind of get a bad reputation, especially in the United States. And yet, you have employees like that who are exactly the kind of person we want, right? Though that level of passion, especially 22 years, because retail, no matter what it is, even if it's pets, that can be brutal on people.
Yeah.
But to still have that passion, that love, to be there for 22 years, I guess my thing I would say to you guys, like, I know that we harp, like, as a community, as, like, fish keepers, we'll harp on Petco and PetSmart because it's not optimal. But you know what? The people there mean well. So if you do happen to go to a Petco, and, like, maybe that's all you have where you live, you don't have local fish stores, maybe just say thanks if you've got that one truly passionate person. Like, corporate might not be the best, but the people who are on the ground level, they care. They really do. And you get people like Cousin Henry, who, spent 5 years basically in a Petco, and now you're not officially in HR, but you're in upper level management in the company you work for, and you're dealing with basically people's lives constantly and trying to do everything you can.
Close to 3,100 people, yeah.
3,100, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to balance a lot of things, and a lot of it involves trying to provide as much for them as your company can, right?
Yeah. And
because you luckily work for a pretty good company as far as how they treat their employees.
They do amazing, and I think it's only going to go up from here. We've had a lot of big changes with some big seats in our house in the last few years, and the people that are sitting there now are really passionate about making it fantastic to work for, not only for our customers, but for our employees and our vendors. And I think that's a great philosophy to live by and to learn from. So I'm really excited to be a part of that team. And I get nothing from Petco, and I haven't worked for Petco for many years.
Almost like 15 now.
Yeah. We're talking,
it's been a
long time, but the reason that it resonates with me so much and the reason I'm so passionate about talking about it is because it is one of the few companies that I can count on one hand that I have had experiences with, and the employees were outstanding. Even when I went to the building I was actually employed and getting money from, those employees were the same way. It was like this quiet culture within the store of being able to detect and hire the people that are so desperately in love with caring for all things animal, whether it be fish, whether it be any kind of sea life, reptiles, small animals, birds. These people are very passionate about it, and those have been my experiences with it. I've never met somebody who treated it like a 9 to 5 and wanted to get out of there. Everybody loved what they did, and they were okay with staying late if that was something that was required of them. It was a good time.
So, with that said, I'll have one last question. Can you think of any pet while you worked there that you thought to yourself, no person should be owning this out of like a Petco? Like a generic person as opposed to like a serious hobbyist for that kind of animal. You know, is there anything that you could think of that was like, we shouldn't have these in our store?
There's a couple that comes to my mind. I think...
Because I can guarantee I can name a fish, and I know you know exactly what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
But is there anything worse than that fish? We're being vague on purpose. We'll give you the fish in a sec.
I was always leery of people who wanted to purchase a large bird. I was always weary with the fact that we carried tortoises because of their longevity.
Yeah.
And people, I don't know if they understand what they sign up for an animal like that. And this is just me personally, I happen to love this creature very much, but I was always dumbfounded that we had it as a pet that you could buy, and it was an emperor scorpion. They're great to look at, and if you put them under a black light, they're even cooler to look at.
They look cool, yeah.
But no one ever wanted to handle them. Everybody wanted to just observe it.
Yeah.
And so I was always afraid that they would buy the animal and take it home and not really like it, and it would be stuck in this tiny cage and nothing happened to it. So that one always threw me off, was the scorpion for sure.
Okay. And we'll do the fish. What fish should Petco not have sold that they probably still sell? It's okay to say it. It's okay. I know that you have one that you like, so you almost don't want to, but...
Yeah. What are you thinking?
Common Pleco.
Oh. We were just talking about
yeah, we were
that
just
earlier.
talking about this. This is how tired you are.
Yeah, the common pleco is a great fish because it's very docile and it cleans your tank. It's got great benefits. It does great things. I've even owned a red-eared slider turtle, and my common pleco would clean the turtle, and they were the best friends. They would do everything together, because that turtle loved having his shell cleaned so much by the pleco. But it's a terrible fish to have, and I don't understand why we had it at Petco, because people don't understand. They'll come in and they'll buy a common pleco.
Yeah.
And they end up trying to bring it back the majority of the time after they've had it for a year or so, because now it is the size of their tank.
Yeah.
And these things can continue to grow. So that fish is, I don't know, it's so difficult because a lot of people love it, but they don't know what to do with it when it outgrows whatever.
I was going to say, thankfully, I've noticed, not specifically, it's been a while since I've tried to actively look, but more commonly they're getting the bristlenose plecos in now. And those top out at about like 5 inches. So they're not as bad. But the only other thing, I'm curious only because I have direct experience with this right now. Your thoughts on iguanas being sold at a Petco? Which is like such a baited question because I have an abandoned iguana now that's a full adult that clearly did not have the right upkeep. Because we're still fighting some health issues that she has from being abandoned. But they're so cute when they're like this big.
Oh, absolutely. I think people get really excited when you see something exotic like that in the tank. Because where else do you find iguanas? We don't have them hanging out like we do with crows or robins or whatever common animal we have in our area. And so when they see these types of animals, they get excited and they want to have that. But the problem is, you've adopted one yourself. People get scared of these animals. They can grow up and become very terrifying because they're so dominant. If they feel threatened in any way, if they have any question about who you are, if you're not close to them and don't handle them, they can become very aggressive and whip and try to bite. So it scares the kids, it scares the wife, it scares the husband. They want to get rid of it. And that's... I love them, and I know that there is a lot of people out there that love iguanas and know how to take care of them properly. But if you are somebody who just goes into a store googly-eyed because it's a big dragon, it's an ancient dinosaur, it'd be cool to have one in my house, make sure you do your research and really understand the animal that you're purchasing before you do.
It's a good lesson. I would apply that to basically every fish as well, but sometimes you can kind of get away with some easy stuff. I mean, like
goldfish.
goldfish and bettas aren't too crazy, but even then, like proper habitats compared to what like the bowl, like the dreaded goldfish bowl. But I just want to kind of like reinforce that. Like, I know that we give Petcos a bad rap. Like, we generic people who think we know a little bit more, right? Well, most part we do know a little bit more. But just keep in mind, like, just like Henry's telling you, you've got those people who have spent years working for a Petco because they love pets and they care about animals. The people working the floor are good people. So let's not rag those people too much. You can rag corporate all you want, though.
Yeah.
We're fine with that. We'd like to see improvements.
For sure.
But I think that's a good spot to end.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me on again. It's been fun. I hope everybody out there enjoys the videos. And I don't know, maybe we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, we're going to... One thing we've talked about, and I'll spoil this now, we have to do a lot of permissions to be clear. We've talked about walking through your old Petco.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of filming a tour so you can see what has changed and talk about what you remember from working there. Because it is quite a bit different. I've walked through there recently.
Yeah, I don't think I've been there in 10 years.
It's not too crazy, but like certain things are missing and certain changes have happened with how Petco has changed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to get permission from the store. We probably have to get some permission from their like district manager or something, because we don't want to do something and piss them off. Like, I know a lot of people are like, "Nah, it's Petco. Who cares?" If you can't tell, we've had good experiences with Petco. That being said, am I buying my fish at Petco? but that's because I have really great local fish stores, and I want to support those guys. But we kind of want to go from the perspective of somebody who's had a really good experience working for Petco, and more that like there's, the horror stories aren't just like, this is how bad Petco is. Sometimes the horror stories are, this is the stuff I had to deal with as an employee there, and not from corporate side, but from the customer side.
Yeah.
Because anybody who's worked retail, you've got your horror story. And I know that we both have way worse than anything that has walked into a Petco, but those aren't as fun to talk about.
Right.
They're just grind your teeth anger moments as opposed to, oh yeah, a lady brought in a snake that is not a pet.
Yeah.
Or,
oh, it's a baby rattler. Nice.
Spoiler.
Did we not talk about that?
We did in the previous one.
Okay.
I'm trying to get him to watch the old video.
Sorry. Watch it. Yeah, that's awesome. But listen, if for some reason we don't get permission to go to this Petco, I'm seriously thinking if we do a little bit of redecorating, Bentley has reptiles and aquatics here, so I could almost recreate Petco right within inside of his house.
I used to have, it's funny, I still have some on my back porch. The tank system that Petcos use they're just not on the racks. But the actual physical tanks, I have 2 of them left.
Okay.
Back there, but they're broken. It's kind of crazy to know that I have things that used to be in a Petco at one point.
I can show you how to work them too.
Yeah, no, they're spare glass at this point. But anyway, I think we're done babbling. We both need sleep so we can get to work. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching.
It's good to see everybody.
And stay awesome. Oh my gosh, your life is so hard. Come on.
My Scottish beard's got some girth to it.
Okay, so we'll try and restart that one.
Okay. Can we shout out like Seahawks?
I mean, we don't want to indicate that it's necessarily game day, but
Okay. Well, we can say Seahawks.
we just be like, man, we're through the first week of preseason. We're big football fans.
Our team won.
I know it's just preseason. We already have a perfect record. We are undefeated.
Super Bowl champs, baby.
Super Bowl 2020, bro. Calling it now.